Pretty good rope or something. Yeah. Now, we all see this little Japanese style red bridge right here between the two Monterey cypresses. Or did you guys catch up? Sorry. So this little Japanese style red bridge right here between the two Monterey cypresses, that's a dedication to a dear friend of Clifford's and Dawn. And her name was Colleen Moore. And why I mention her is because Colleen Moore was one of the highest paid silent film actresses of the 1920s and 30s, making an average income of $12,500 every week. So she was making over 600 grand in that time period. If you put in today's inflation, she was basically a millionaire several times over. And why I mention is because Colleen Moore had this dollhouse. Now this dollhouse, it was never on the property. There are books that describe it. It was a 97 square foot dollhouse. It was so big, a grown person could sit inside it. If you ever want to visit, it took her 7 years to build by hand before computers, and all scaled and modeled by hand for $450,000. It's housed in Chicago's Science and Industry Museum. It's basically kind of like what the Mona Lisa is in the Louvre. It has its own room. Its approximate value at the time, it's visited by 2 million people every year. Its approximate value is $7 million. And I'm gonna list a few of the amenities it had. It had an electrical piano that worked, electricity that worked, running water, a Knights of the Round Table kitchen dining table, and a grand wooden, magnificently beautiful spiral staircase. And that's just any girl. That'd be any girl's dream to own a dollhouse like that. It'd be any girl's dream. Trust me, I can see your eyes are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it took her 7 years to build for $450,000. But why I mention this is because Colleen knew that Clifford had a jewelry store, and she wanted a Russian box. So he put in the prince's bedroom at the foot of the prince's bed. So Clifford had his jeweler design this very beautiful Russian box with these ornate golden swan handles that he gave to her as a gift of friendship. And Colleen did eventually retire to Paso Robles after investing very well with Merrill Lynch. And that's actually how Clifford and Dawn met, was because Dawn saw Colleen's dollhouse. And actually, Colleen put the dollhouse during World War II on tour to raise money for the war effort. So she was very ingenious for her time. And so Clifford and Dawn met through that way, and they all were dear friends after that. So they all came together over a dollhouse. Isn't that kind of crazy? They all met through a dollhouse. Isn't that kind of crazy? But Clifford and Dawn, when they were getting into their latter years, they were just saying, who should we leave the house to after we eventually pass on? They didn't have any children. Now Clifford, he had been a big philanthropist. He had donated to Cuesta College, Cal Poly, Slow Symphony, Slow Performing Arts, basically all the performing arts and like all the charitable events or anything. So he'd been a big philanthropist. Originally, he was going to leave his house to Cal Poly, but he got wind that the university was planning to sell the property. So he said, well, I don't really want that if they're not going to really do anything and preserve it. So he wanted to preserve it for future generations. So he negotiated with the city of Pismo Beach, and Clifford did eventually pass on in June of 2012 at the age of 82. He did his normal exercises, went for a walk, did his normal routine, and went peacefully in his sleep. He had his celebration of life on the property. In January of 2013, the city of Pismo Beach voted narrowly to decide to take on the property, and Dawn was allowed to, because of the terms of Clifford's will. He was allowed to live out his remaining years until he passed in October of 2019, right before the COVID pandemic. And we, the Chapman Foundation, were founded sometime in those years. We didn't get to assess what had to be done to the property and get to come on and start giving tours until after the COVID pandemic. And I should mention, at Dawn's passing, this house was estimated at $12 million. And that's pretty much the whole history of the Chapman Estate, guys, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.